Hokage give me a face. Dragon Ball, Chapter 101-120. Chapter 101 Great Power. The defeated generals dare to be brave in front of me. It's really beyond our own power. Sharu said calmly, but vaguely. There was already a strong momentum, which slowly erupted from him. Hoo! The wind was raging in the sky. Yizan concentrated on collecting the rays of light from all over the place, gathered on his hands, and the breath became stronger and stronger. Sharu also found that Jack's original gas bomb was getting stronger and stronger. He didn't dare to hesitate at all. He quickly raised his hands, condensed a powerful light, and shouted, "Whoever stands in front of me, I will die." In the face of Sharu's threat, no one backed away. Vegeta instantly transformed into a Super Saiyan form. Number 18 also increased his combat power to the strongest. Goku was also full of firepower. Ready for battle. "Get out of the way, it's alright," Yi Xuanfang said calmly. Following Yizan's words, the three looked at Yizan in surprise. But Sharu didn't hesitate at all. He shot the light wave in his hand directly, galloped through the air, and rushed towards Vegeta and the others. "Yeah!" The three of them shouted at the same time, and rushed out quickly to meet the attack of 887 Sharu, and they fought together. Ziz! Immediately, there was a storm all around. Sharu and Vegeta fought a battle between the three of them, and the surrounding sand and rocks became a little dark. Well, Yizan said that he was really tired. Although Yizan was tired, he did not stop gathering vitality bullets when he was injured. The power in the body, coupled with the energy coming from all directions of the earth, the huge white light ball has become very huge. The power of Yuanqi bomb comes from people who share common beliefs, and temporarily borrow the power in their bodies. Such a powerful force, all gathered together, can cause devastating destruction. Yizan's mouth also showed a sneer. This powerful and terrifying force will finally be condensed successfully. It didn't take long for Sharu to easily defeat Vegeta and the others. Even if the three of them joined forces, they could not stop Sharu from advancing. With endless murderous intent, Sharu swept out a kick, with a fierce light, whistled in the air, and rushed towards the three Vegeta at the same time. Ah! The continuous powerful impact made Vegeta and the others unable to resist. The powerful force slammed into Vegeta and Goku. The three of them flew out at the same time, spit out a mouthful of blood from their mouths, and their bodies couldn't stop smashing to the ground, slammed into the ground, and smashed a big hole. Whoosh! After knocking the three of Vegeta into the air, Sharu accelerated and flew towards Yizan's side. With a powerful force condensed in his right hand, he stared at Yizan and said, "You didn't another chance to shoot, haha." After finishing speaking, Shalu talked about the attack in his hand, and threw it fiercely in front of him. A ray of light that cut through the air instantly arrived in front of Yizan, engulfing him. But at this moment, Yizan's eyes opened, and a cold murderous aura suddenly burst out. Behind him, all the air seemed to be distorted. "Sharu, there is no chance to shoot, it should be you." Yizan gathered his strength, and the surrounding sky flashed a powerful light. That burst of white light burst out from the vitality bomb in Yizan's hand. Out! That powerful coercion and power made Sharu feel uncomfortable for a while, and that powerful feeling almost made Sharu feel squeezed and burst open. "Yeah!" Yizan let out a low voice, holding the vitality bomb in both hands, and slammed it on Sharu's body, and lightning and thunder appeared in the air. Boom! There were bursts of explosions, frantically exploded from around the vitality bomb, layer after layer, and air waves were set off in the surrounding air. It's so strong. Sharu's hands condensed a strong light, gathered all the power together, blasted a shock wave, and met Yizan's vitality bomb. Boom! The two powerful shock waves attacked together in an instant. The powerful force flew out from the air, and the earth was like a sea wolf, and it shook a few times. Ah! The powerful impact force made Shalu's face change greatly. He couldn't help shouting, his expression became very ferocious, and the powerful force impact made him unable to bear it. Boom! The light and power of the vitality bullet suddenly scattered Sharu's attack and disappeared in the air. And that white bright light suddenly flew down from the sky and hit Sharu's body, causing him to spit out a few mouthfuls of blood, and the whole person was thrown out. The strong light and impact did not dissipate. Sharu was bombarded into powder, and his body was directly defeated by the powerful force of the vitality bomb, and even his body was shattered without a trace. Such a powerful vitality bomb attack made this whole world produce an extremely terrifying super strong light, and the impact of this strong light could be felt within a radius of hundreds of miles. When the strong light dissipated and the air pressure dropped a little, he said, "No, you are wrong, Sharu is not dead yet." What? After these words were like a heavy hammer, Wukong and the others were below and saw that Yi Zhan was still standing in the air, with excited expressions on everyone's faces. "Brother Yi Zhan, it's great that you're okay." After fighting for so long, Yi Zhan was still able to win, which made Wukong very admire. And Vegeta looked at Yi Zhan's expression, but it became more dignified, and he could clearly perceive that the gap between Yi Zhan and Yi Zhan was getting bigger and bigger. Only the 18th, apart from being a little embarrassed, he still has the same bland appearance, and even his expression has not changed in the slightest. After casting the live camera, everyone on the earth could clearly see the battle between Yi Zhan and Xiaolu. After finding that Xiaolu was killed by Yi Zhan, everyone cheered excitedly, and the earth was finally saved. However, only Yi Zhan was alone, standing in midair, letting the wind blow his hair, but still frowning, looking a little puzzled. "Brother Yi Zhan, we won!" Wukong shouted again, and the expression on his face was also very excited. Glancing down, Yi Zhan's eyes suddenly condensed, and the words struck everyone's heart, causing their expressions to change sharply. Obviously it was difficult to accept Yi Zhan's words. Chapter 102-Go to Hell. Not long after Yi Zhan finished speaking, another change suddenly occurred in the surrounding sky. There was a black aura that began to condense into the sky. The condensed black gas gradually gathered together, and a strong light appeared around, followed by a deep voice. "Bastard, you are too much, you actually forced me to use the strongest form." Quote. As the voice fell, a familiar figure slowly condensed under the black mist, with green skin and an insect-like body, becoming a little more human-like. Sharu. Yi Zhan's eyes couldn't help but squinted slightly. He knew that Sharu didn't die so easily, and now he appeared again in front of his eyes. At this time, Sharu's body extracted his own share from the surrounding energy, and the body reconvened, and burst out with the most powerful power. Sharu in the strongest form, flying in midair, opposed to Yi Zhan. That huge pressure went straight to Yi Zhan. Originally thought that the attack of the vitality bomb would be able to defeat Sharu, but he never expected that he would just make a wedding dress for someone. Displayed the strongest form. Vegeta and the others, who were watching all this on the ground, had long had ugly expressions on their faces, and they could all feel that Sharu became stronger than before. Giggle. Shalu squeezed his fists, looked at Jack coldly, and shouted, "I said, it will make you look ugly, prepare for me. Haha." When he said this, Sharu's whole body exuded an incomparably powerful momentum, and an energy shot up into the sky, bursting out of Sharu's body quickly, and went straight to the sky. Hey! After the light flew out, it was like a big knife, flying a few times in the air, smashing the air, and then bombarding Yi Zhan's body. In the face of such a powerful attack, Yi Zhan's face also became extremely gloomy at this time. In order to defeat Xiaolu, before Xiaolu had not become the strongest form, Yi Zhan took out all his strength. Now he is very tired and weak. Not good. Vegeta and Wukong, the expressions on their faces were condensed, and a powerful breath burst out from them, and suddenly flew high into the air, unleashing a powerful attack, towards Sharu slammed into the body. But helplessly, Sharu's attack is very powerful. The sand and light around him are all sucked in when he encounters Sharu's attack. Nothing can escape the power of his attack. Therefore, even Vegeta and the others' attacks were absorbed by that ray of light in an instant and dissipated in the air. On the contrary, Sharu's attack became much more powerful, and all around were lighted up, and it was difficult to open the eyes of those who flickered for a while. It's such a strong force that you can't dodge if you want to dodge it. Yizan's face also became very ugly in an instant. The strength in your body, if you want to condense, moves slowly, like a tortoise crawling same. In the face of Shalu's attack, Yizan finally realized the terror that belongs to the high-end combat power of Dragon Ball, the kind of power that destroys the world and destroys everything, so Yizan also felt some pressure. Are you going to be bombarded by this guy in this place? This idea suddenly appeared in Yizan's mind. Boom! When Yizan's body was shrouded in the shock wave, he clearly felt that his body was being torn apart so powerfully that every place seemed to be evaporated. Is this what it feels like to die? The moment Yizan's consciousness left and his mind dissipated, a sentence emerged. When the shock wave completely dissipated, Yizan's body also swayed and disappeared into this world. The Wukong and the others in the distance all shouted in surprise. Cut, is this the end? Forget it, go to hell to think of a way to talk about it, it's really not going to work, let's revive it with the reincarnation technique of outsiders. Yizan looked at Shalu and thought slowly. After all, now, Yizan really has no good way to deal with Shalu. Even if he uses Sage Art Chakra, it will take Shalu to absorb it for a long time, and once Shalu finds something wrong, he will be raising a tiger. It's in trouble, so Yizan is going to go to hell to see. If possible, Yizan is going to sign a contract with the clergy of hell to see if he can use it to seal the ghouls. When Yizan disappeared, Shalu was suspended in midair, with a sneer at the corner of his mouth. He laughed loudly, "Everyone, surrender and tremble under my feet." When people on Earth saw this scene, their faces turned pale with fright, and their eyes staring at the TV were all terrified. In a dark environment, everything is just immersed, nothing can be seen here, and it is icy cold. Shoo! In the icy darkness, a blue flame appeared, illuminating Yizan's eyes and letting him see his position clearly. This is hell, so I'm really dead. I've never died, it's the first time, it's a bit new. Yizan looked around curiously. You are not dead, but this is indeed hell, and you have come to hell. A very low voice came to Yizan's mind. Just when the words sounded, a bright light appeared in front of Yizan's eyes, and everything could be seen clearly. Hell! Yizan looked around suspiciously and came to hell, but why did he say he didn't die? With Yizan's gaze, a man with a huge body was sitting in the black mist of hell, sitting on a high position. His eyes were looking down at Yizan, his eyes were full of majesty, and around him, there were many strange people standing. Weird guy, a bit like a monster. King Yama. After seeing the majestic man for the first time, Yizan recognized him. When he was in the heaven, he and the gods came to visit this guy, but he didn't expect to have a chance to meet him now. Looking at the top of his head, there was an extra golden circle. Isn't this something that only appears after death? Am I dead or dead? Why does he say I'm not dead? Chapter 103-18 Layers of Hell. The huge King Yama, with a pair of funny glasses, nodded slightly, opened the life and death book on the chopping board, and said to Yizan, "It's a pity that you were killed by him when you were fighting with Sharu. This is the only way came to hell. Have your own name on the life and death book." When Yizan was wondering, in this space, the voice of the gods suddenly sounded. Lord Yama, Yizan can't stay in hell. After Shalu killed him, he has already started to frantically destroy the earth. The more the dead are, more and more, we can't stop it at all, so please let him out. Hearing this, King Yama expressed a little embarrassment, thought for a while and said, "But it's against the rules to let Yizan go like this." Immediately afterwards, the voice of the gods came again. If Yizan is not allowed to leave here, all the people in the world will be killed by Shalu. You hell, I am afraid you can't hold so many dead souls. This. King Yama also fell into silence. He was only the master in charge of the Earth's Yama temple. If all the people on the Earth died, he would be stuffed here, and how would he work in the future? Thinking for a while, King Yama said, "Well, let's make an exception for you and let Yizan get out of hell." Yizan also heard the conversation between Heavenly God and King Yama, and couldn't help but interject. "Heavenly God, Sharu's strength is so strong now. If we want to deal with him, I'm afraid it will not be easy. Do you have a better way to deal with Sharu? After fighting Shalu, Yizan found that it is not so simple to kill Shalu. At least with his current strength, it is not so easy to deal with. The gods also pondered for a while, and did not come up with a better way, but said, if you don't stop Sharu, I am afraid that not only the earth, but the life of the entire universe will be threatened by Sharu. I have a proposal to deal with Sharu. King Yama, who remained silent for a while, suddenly opened his mouth to express his opinion. Yizan was stunned for a moment, but then quickly said, if there is any way, please tell me quickly. Yeah, King Yama nodded and said, I watched your fight with Shalu. This guy is really strong. Even if he comes to hell after death, he will cause huge damage, so he must be beaten. Killed without a trace, and on the 18th floor of this hell, there is a ghost sword, which can cause great mental and soul damage to powerful enemies. If you can take this sword with you, to deal with Sharu, it should increase the stronger combat power. Quote. With such a good thing, how could Yizan miss it? And said quickly, then what are you waiting for? Take me to get it quickly. As long as you can defeat Sharu, this is the best way. But King Yama did not act and said, it is not an easy task to enter the 18 layers of hell. If you really want to get it, I can take you there, but if you can get it, just look at yourself. Yeah, although he knew it was dangerous and he might not be able to get it, Yizan nodded and decided to give it a try. At this time, King Yama stood up from his seat, with a huge body erect. He came to Yizan's side, and led him forward. In hell, King Yama is the master of everything. When he walked deeper, everything seemed to be wrapped in ice, and his breath was rattled. Yizan followed behind, and also noticed the environment under hell. The further down he went, the more obvious the bone-piercing feeling. From time to time, he could hear bursts of mourning. According to the words of King Yama, this is the souls that flowed in the passage when they were on the way to the 18th hell. Each of them could not get out from here, and could only wander here. This passage is very dark, and I can't see clearly what is in front of me. I can only feel the cold wind whizzing on both sides. I don't know how long it took before I saw a little light, and there was a strong suction that seemed to suck them all. Go in. The cold wind blowing from the bottom of hell gave people an uncomfortable feeling. With Yizan's own ability to bear, he could still support it, but at the same time, Yizan was also very surprised that his strength was in this universe. It can be regarded as the peak, but in this dark passage, it will feel very uncomfortable. Do you feel uncomfortable? The cold wind is blessing every part of your body. King Yama suddenly said to Yizan beside him. Well, that's true. Yizan nodded with a puzzled expression. Looking at the approaching light, King Yama continued, although there are many strong men in the universe, with your current strength, you can be regarded as a top strong man, but you must also know that in this universe, there are many strong men. All kinds of things are mutually reinforcing, just like water can restrain fire, wood can restrain earth, all things circulate, but they have their own laws, although your strength is strong, but in the 18 layers of hell, there is a strong suction, it can make the power of a strong person very weak in this space. There is such a thing. Yizan was a little surprised, but he did not expect such a strange change in the 18 layers of hell. Whoosh! Soon, Yizan and King Yama came to the bottom 5.3 of hell, which is the legendary 18th hell. There was nothing in it, no one, only a white world. As if standing in the white light, Yizan blocked the dazzling light, and said to King Yama next to him, there is nothing in here, and the eyes that are stimulated by the light can hardly open. Ding! As soon as King Yama raised his hand, a blue light burst out from King Yama's hand, rushing directly around, and all those white rays of light were rippling out. Om! There was another slight sound, and at this moment, those rays of light were absorbed back to the back and became a strong point of light, standing in the very center of this space. Chapter 104-Sword. It didn't take long for the surrounding light to dim, and Yizan was finally able to see the situation inside. The shocking scene made Yizan's complexion suddenly change. I saw a blue lightsaber appearing in front of Yi Zan's eyes. It was hundreds of meters high. It was inserted horizontally in the very center of this space. The sword was dozens of meters wide. Light. The most surprising thing is that around this blue long sword, there are a lot of lights and shadows. All of them are shadows of souls. There are men, women, children, and old people. It looks so illusory, but there is only one thing. That is, it is very vivid, just like people who are alive, but in an instant, they all disappeared in front of this blue sword light. Hum. Around the vampire sword, those roaring souls slowly dissipated around the sword, leaving no trace. King Yama took a few steps forward, pointed at the ghost sword and said, "This sword has been here for many years, and it has sucked in countless ghosts. As long as you can take these 30 swords away, you should be able to restrain the sand." Lose power. Sharu's most powerful power is to be able to absorb the opponent's power and turn him into his own power, and this powerful method is also reflected on this vampire sword. "Okay, then I'll go get this sword." Yi Zan nodded immediately, his eyes narrowed slightly, and power quickly emerged from his body. In these 18 layers of hell, Yi Zan's power was weakened a lot unconsciously. He flew up, and rushed towards the blue sword emitting a strong light. As soon as he got to the side of the blue giant sword, Yi Zan felt a huge suction force. It seemed that he was about to absorb the soul in his body in an instant, and the power was gradually dissipating. As soon as he touched the blue giant sword, there was a cold fire light inside, which made Yi Zan's palm feel a lot of pain, and he couldn't help but shrink back. Shish! Yi Zan flew backwards as soon as he was in pain, and after a few steps backwards, he returned to King Yama. Supporting Yi Zan's body with force, King Yama didn't let him continue to retreat, and then quickly said, "Forgot to tell you, this ghost sword, if you want to get it, you have to walk forward step by step. Use your own power to control him." "So it is." Yi Zan nodded, took a deep breath, lowered the breath in his body, and then walked forward step by step. The strength of his body gradually returned to the most stable state. At this time, Yi Zan had noticed that Shalu had mutated very powerfully and was very cunning. After absorbing a certain amount of power, he would not continue to absorb it. It is impossible for Sharu to be flooded with power and die. Only by using other methods, Kemu can deal with Sharu. And this vampire sword is the best choice. It is almost the same as Sharu's ability. When the time comes, the two forces will have a strong impact, and Sharu will not be able to absorb the power. Walking forward at this time, Yi Zan's body gradually felt uncomfortable, and there was still a strange feeling, as if he wanted to absorb the soul in his body. "Drink." Yi Zan snorted lowly, struggling to keep walking forward, not wanting to stop for a moment. "Guru." Yi Zan's body made a muffled sound, and all his powers increased a lot, and the released soul suddenly sucked back, and let the Buddha return to his body. Leaping forward, Yi Zan tightly clasped the hilt of the soul-sucking ghost sword with both hands. His strength burst out in an instant, his feet slammed into the air, and he suddenly pulled back. Ziz! The surrounding hell space seemed to be distorted at this moment, and Yi Zan also took this opportunity to suddenly increase his strength. As the strength increased, the vampire sword was lifted little by little from the center of the space, and a little light appeared. The souls that had been surrounding the vampire sword before let out a howl at this moment, and were finally absorbed by the powerful sword glow, leaving no trace behind. "Come out for me!" Yi Zan let out a final roar, and with a burst of strength, he lifted the huge blue long sword from the bottom of this space. Boom! The moment the huge ghost sword was lifted, there was a loud noise in the entire space, as if everything was about to collapse. Ha ha! At the moment when the sword was pulled out, Yi Zan couldn't help laughing. The violent feeling made him feel very comfortable. In just a short moment, this space began to undergo huge changes. The place where light and darkness coexisted began to gradually become smaller, and it seemed to condense into a small space, which merged into the vampire in Yi Zan's hands. Sword. And the vampire's sword, after being pulled out by Jack, began to gradually become smaller, and finally became the size of a long sword that was just in his hand, but the power contained in it was indeed very powerful. The blue body of the sword is full of the power of the soul, and it can shake the ground and the mountains with every swing. On the hilt, there is a simple character engraved. Although it is very obscure, Yizan I still recognized it. It was a capitalized ghost character, and the Buddha had endless souls in it, which made people tremble. Seeing Yizan's ghost sword, King Yama couldn't help shouting, "Yizan, you are really amazing, I didn't misunderstand you. You are really the master of this ghost sword. You know, I have been in charge of hell for so many years, never seen anyone who could draw a vampire sword." Whoosh! Yizan flew down with his sword, came to the face of King Yama, raised the ghost sword in his hand to the front, stared at the sword and said, "I will use this sword to defeat Sharu, let him know who is the real powerhouse." Quote. Chapter 105 On the Earth. With the ghost sword in hand, Yizan felt that his whole body was full of power, and a very powerful feeling poured into his body, and the sword he held in his hand also shone continuously. King Yama laughed loudly beside him. "It's great to get this sword, everything is saved, you are more powerful than I thought, Yizan." Yizan nodded, the sword in his hand suddenly disappeared, the whole sword was hidden in Yizan's body, and he could take it out at any time as long as he wanted to use it. "I'm leaving. If you take a step forward, Sharu will not know how many people will be killed on Earth," Yizan said quickly. "That's right, we have to hurry up." King Yama nodded, hurriedly took Yizan with him, and flew out of the 18th hell. Although it was slow to come from the 18 layers of hell, it was very beneficial to go back, and the speed was much faster. After a while, Yizan and King Yama returned to the top of hell. As soon as he came to the top, King Yama didn't talk nonsense, and said directly to Yizan, "You can leave from here now, I specially approve you to be able to lead to the earth, go." "Thank you King Yama." Yizan cupped his hands, put his right hand on his forehead, and immediately used teleportation to return to the earth. Meanwhile, on Earth, Sharu who defeated Yizan, his self-confidence was extremely inflated, and he immediately won the battle with Vegeta and the others. He flew high into the sky. As long as he wanted to destroy the Earth, it was only a momentary thing. Whoosh! He noticed that the most powerful people on Earth are now in the sky. They have their own powerful power, which is much stronger than ordinary people on Earth. Soon, Sharu saw the existence of the temple, flew over slowly, and landed directly in the middle of the temple. As soon as Shalu appeared, the gods and Buma in the temple already felt his presence, and they hurried out to look at the powerful enemies that appeared outside. As soon as he saw the people around him, Shalu suddenly laughed. "Is it you people, are you the strongest guys on Earth? It's funny, it's so weak, haha. What are you talking about?" Buma was hot-tempered. Hearing this, he immediately rolled up his sleeves and looked like he was going to rush up desperately. If it wasn't for Kiki pulling her, he would probably have gone up to fight Sharu. But the expression of the gods was very solemn at this time. He knew for a long time that Yizan and Wukong had all failed and were beheaded by this terrifying man in front of him. "Jia Jia," Shalu sneered and said to the gods and Buma, "I forgot to tell you, what I like to do most is torturing people. I will kill you slowly, don't rush over to send you to death, haha." Damn bastard. The blatant contempt made Boomer even more angry. He raised his hand and shot out a shockwave. Although Bulma's attack was fast, its strength was too weak. Shalu didn't even evade dodging, and directly let Bulma's attack hit him. Boom! There was a loud noise, and this attack slammed directly on Sharu's body, causing Sharu to scream immediately, as if it was very painful, and a burst of smoke covered Sharu. Great hit! Buma was excited for a while, eager to jump up with joy. She actually hit Shalu. But after the smoke disappeared, the smile on her face became stiff, and she couldn't smile at all. I saw that there was nothing wrong with Sharu in the smoke, and it was still the same as before. Ha ha! After laughing a few times, Shalu patted on his body and said, "Just like your attack, it's really no different from Rautickle." How could this be? Buma's surprise made him take a few steps back, and a feeling of powerlessness surged in her heart. Gods glanced at Bulma and said, "Don't be sad, Sharu's strength is too strong, and we are not his opponents at all." "That's right." Shalu smiled lightly in the distance, the corner of his mouth raised an arc, and sneered, "So, you still let me torture me, and then die?" "Drink." After Shalu said this, a figure suddenly jumped out from behind him, a powerful shock wave condensed in his hands, and rushed behind Shalu. Everyone was stunned when they saw this scene. Even Shalu felt the murderous aura coming from behind. He didn't expect someone to sneak up on him from behind, so he couldn't help but look behind. Ziz! But the moment he turned around, a sharp spear with a shock wave stabbed Sharu's body fiercely. Yeah, Sharu didn't react. The sharp silver-colored spear pierced directly into his body, fell into his chest, and shed green blood. Crash! The blood dripped on the ground, turning the color on the ground a little green, and a strange atmosphere suddenly appeared around. Da-da! The few people who attacked Sharu fell to the ground, with nervous and solemn expressions written all over their faces. These people are none other than Piccolo, Tianjin Rice and Dumplings. The three of them fought desperately, just to take the opportunity to solve Sharu. Although they seemed to be successful, they all had a bad premonition that flooded their hearts, and everyone's expressions were so solemn. The green blood was still dripping down. Sharu reached out and touched it. A very ferocious and terrifying expression appeared on his face. "You guys are really amazing. It's been a long time since no one could make me bleed." The corners of Sharu's mouth gradually became cold. Saying that, he slowly reached out and grasped the top of the spear, and slowly pulled it out. The part that was inserted into the body was easily pulled out by him. Bang! Sharu was still on the ground with the spear, making a crisp sound. Chapter 106 Come back at the crucial moment. Ha ha! Shalu's face began to show a hideous smile, and even the muscles on his forehead became a lot bulging, and he seemed to be very angry. Guru! It was just a light sound, and the scar on Sharu's body slowly healed in a short period of time, and recovered in an instant, as if he had not been injured. Knowing Sharu's strength, Tianjin Fan's face instantly turned ugly. He raised the strength in his body and rushed forward. At the same time, he shouted in his heart, "You all hurry up, I will stop here alone." Said, Tianjin Fan waved his hands, and he smashed a powerful attack, which turned into a shock wave, and flew towards Sharu's body. Bang! With a flick to the side, Shalu sent the shock wave into the distance, raised his right hand, stared at Tianjin Fan coldly, and said, "If you can't escape, give it to me. Die here." Hey! After speaking, a destructive light became very powerful, and from Sharu's hand, like a ray, bombarded his body. This move seems to be very casual, but the powerful force contained in it is not something that Tianjin Fan can resist. In just a moment, Tianjin Fan, who was struggling to rush over, was smashed to 540 slag. Tianjin Rice. Seeing this scene, Dumpling and Little Piccolo couldn't help shouting, and at the same time they also felt the great pressure coming from Shalu. "It's your turn." Shalu grinned and pointed to the front with his hand. Two rays of light rushed out quickly and landed directly on Dumplings and Little Piccolo. Both of them were robbed and devoured. In the end, it was directly destroyed into powder. Such a powerful attack made Shalu laugh out loud. "Your strength is really too weak, you can't even stop one move." Afterwards, Shalu turned his gaze to Bulma, Lanchi, the gods, and the servants of the gods, with a sneer at the corners of his mouth, and said, "The four of you, I want to kill you slowly, I can't let you die too much. Soon, hee hee." Damn! The servant of the gods, who has always been very good-tempered, couldn't help but scolded, jumped, and flew to Sharu, and at the same time made a powerful attack. Two shock waves swept out directly. Seeing the servants of the gods charging over, Shalu didn't move at all, as if he didn't watch the attacks of the servants of the gods. When the two attacks approached him, he moved slightly and avoided the two powerful attacks. Whoosh! In an instant, Sharu moved, and the next second he appeared in front of the servant of the gods. He sneered at him, and then quickly kicked out 2 feet, each with a strong attack. Smashed directly on the servant of the gods. Ah! The servant of the gods screamed, and was kicked dozens of meters away, hit the ground, made a deep mark, and then rolled on the ground, the bones in the body. At this moment, the Buddha was blown away. Kicked to pieces. After struggling a few times, the servants of the gods wanted to get up from the ground, but they didn't have the strength. Jia Jia. After a few strange laughs, Shalu continued to walk towards Buma and the others, sneering, "Now it's your turn, two beauties." When he said this, Shalu couldn't help sticking out his tongue and licking it next to him, looking very cool. And Kiki looked at Shalu with a serious face. "Damn bastard, look at the trick." Kiki shouted suddenly and attacked Sharu. "Hey!" One after another shock wave appeared. However, Sharu moved his body a few times and easily avoided these crazy shock waves. With a sway of his body, Shalu did not know when he had come to Chi-Chi. A hand stretched out suddenly, and grabbed Chi-Chi's neck, making her unable to move. "You are very hot, then I will let you die slowly and enjoy the feeling of suffocation." Saying that, Shalu lifted Chi-Chi up, and the chi in Chi-Chi's hand also dissipated. "Kiki!" Buma shouted, trying to rush up to save Chi-Chi, but Shalu waved it casually, and a gust of wind flew out, rushing Buma to the back. Chi-Chi's pretty face was a little suffocated Yan Yuhi, but at the last moment, she saw a strange light flashing. Chi-Chi disappeared instantly, but Yizan's protective measures on Chi-Chi played a role. Space forbearance, the technique was touched, and Chi-Chi was sent directly into the different space. Shalu looked at the empty hand and said strangely, "Escaped. Haha, interesting, but unfortunately, the monk can't escape the temple if he can." Sharu turned his attention to the rest of the crowd. The god of the sky didn't move, but those eyes became a lot deeper and heavier, and he murmured, "Here, he is finally here." Just as Sharu was about to exert his strength to kill everyone, suddenly, the clouds above the sky suddenly shrank and became a whirlwind. The powerful coercion came from high in the sky, and Sharu, who looked a little surprised, couldn't help but look up. In an instant, Yizan's figure suddenly appeared high in the sky, standing high and standing against the wind. The powerful aura emanated from his body, and he was holding the frightened Chi-Chi in his arms. On top of Yizan's head, there was a golden aperture, which looked very weird. As soon as she saw Yizan, Bulma couldn't help shouting, "Yizan, you are finally back." Although Chi-Chi was about to faint, but when she saw Yizan, there was some strange brilliance in her confused eyes, which was a kind of hope and excitement. "Haha, it's strange that you can still appear here." Shalu suddenly sneered, staring at Yizan, and his eyes became sharp. Yizan didn't pay any attention to Shalu's words, and just put down Chi-Chi in his arms indifferently and said, "Protect yourself." Kiki nodded heavily. And Sharu rushed to Yizan in an instant. Looking for death, Yizan's eyes narrowed slightly, and an icy murderous aura emanated from Yizan's body. He pulled his right hand behind his back, and from the void, a blue long sword appeared so slowly. The light was very bright, and there was a cold hellish atmosphere in it. Chapter 107 _ Beauty of Strength. The surrounding air seemed to feel like ice from the moment the ghost sword appeared, and the sound of cracking ice appeared in the air, which seemed to spread far away. Seeing the vampire sword, Shalu's brows couldn't help but tremble. There was a slight change, and the power in his body burst out without any reservation. Whoosh! In the next second, Yizan disappeared, his figure flashed in midair, and he rushed in front of Shalu, hurriedly swinging his sword and slashing it down. Not good. In desperation, Sharu quickly resisted with his hands, and a blue light burst out from Sharu's hand. "What if your strength is strong? I still suck your strength, ah." Sharu suddenly drank in his heart, and a strong light shone around his body. Ziz's light lit up, and the surrounding power seemed to be sucked in by him. No one could stop Sharu's powerful offensive. If it was before, the chi in Yizan's body would have been easily absorbed by Shalu, but now, Yizan has a ghost sword in his hand, and he was surprised to find that Shalu could not take away the chi in his body at all. Half power. The soul-sucking ghost sword consolidated the chi in Yizan's body so that it could not be sucked away. Instead, it could absorb some of Sharu's soul power, causing Sharu to tremble. What kind of sword is this? Shalu, who was terrified, couldn't help but ask Yizan Tilda. The sword that will kill you. Yizan shouted, swung his sword and rushed down, facing Sharu's arm. He chopped down, go. The bright light flashed, and Shalu didn't realize what was going on. He felt a pain in his arm, and when he reacted, the arm that grabbed Lan Chi's neck had been chopped off by Yizan with a sword. Now, the green blood flew out directly. Ah! Sharu screamed, the whole body backed out after playing, and took a dozen steps back in a row, as if he had suffered a major blow. After seeing Bulma and the gods beside him, he instantly wanted to go towards them. Yizan, on the other hand, put away the ghost sword, dodged, and came to Bulma's side before Shalu, and held Bulma in his arms. Are you all right? Looking at the beauty in his arms, Yizan couldn't help but ask softly. Seeing Yizan coming out at a critical time, Bulma was also very excited and couldn't help but said to Yizan, if you don't come again, we will all be dead. With a faint smile at Bulma, Yizan said with a slight smile, don't worry, I'm here, he can't do anything to you. You all be careful, protect yourselves, I'll deal with Sharu. Yizan said lightly, as if Sharu had become insignificant in his eyes. Yeah. Bulma nodded heavily. She was full of confidence in Yizan. He never thought that Yizan would lose to anyone. Facing Yizan's strength, Shalu's face also became very ugly. Half of his arm was cut off by Yizan. His face was full of anger, and he stared at Yizan with a pair of cold eyes. Damn guy, I must smash your body into tens of thousands of pieces. Shalu raised Kiba, and suddenly shouted. The muscles and veins in his body were slowly bulging, and a strong force was directed towards his arms, flowing away little by little. Guru. After a few muffled sounds, Sharu's severed arm suddenly jumped out and filled the wound, exactly as if he had not been injured. Hokage, Hokage. After taking a few breaths, Sharu's body, although a little tired, raised his hands and absorbed some breath from the surroundings. He became full of energy again, and his fighting power increased sharply. After moving his arm a little, Shalu sneered, Yizan, this time, I must make you burn into ashes and nothing is left. Then see if you have the ability. Yizan said lightly, and walked slowly to Sharu's side. Yi Shuank was not surprised that the guys with special abilities like Sharu could restore their arms. And now, he has also mastered the way to deal with Sharu. Whoosh! Sharu jumped into the sky. His body was like a ray of light. He disappeared in an instant, and appeared in the sky in the next second. Shish! Yizan's figure also quickly flew high into the sky and appeared opposite Sharu. The two of them didn't stop at all, and rushed towards each other quickly, displaying a powerful bombardment. The fists and feet were filled with powerful power, and the rays of light covered them. Bang! The fists of the two collided together, producing an extremely violent explosion. A faint semicircular air wave emanated from the middle of them, rippling around, and those clouds were directly lifted, rolled up and charged into the distance. Ziz! Around the bodies of the two, there seemed to be lightning bolts, crackling and squeezing the space. In the next second, both of them bounced out, and their bodies flew backwards, flying hundreds of meters away, before they stopped. Ha! Ha! The two flew forward again, and at the same time, they launched a powerful attack, each faster and stronger. Looking at the temple, the two of them could no longer see their figures. They could only hear the sound of violent explosions, and the sound of breaking wind. The sound of the clouds was constantly rolling and vibrating. It seemed that the whole sky was going to be blown up by them. At this time, Vegeta, Wukong and others who entered Hell gathered in front of the Yama Hall. Through the special ability of Yama King, a huge screen appeared in front of them, just in time to see Yizan and Shalu. Battle. Yizan once again showed his powerful strength in front of everyone. Powerful, arrogant, domineering, and terrifying forces are rampaging across the entire space, and even Sharu dare not attack it. Grandmaster of Battle, had the blood of a Super Saiyan. The battle scene was even more pleasing to the eye, with a beauty of power. Chapter 108 _ The Power of the Sword. In hell, Vegeta and the others watched the battle on the screen. Everyone's expressions were a little nervous. With such a powerful battle, a single blow would be enough to destroy the earth. It seemed that the entire space would be destroyed. Yizan and Sharu were torn apart. In the real battlefield, Yizan and Shalu fought more and more fiercely, almost leaping to the top of the sky, breaking through the atmosphere at any time and flying into the universe. Bang! There was another violent muffled sound. Shalu and Yizan struck each other, causing violent vibrations, and they all retreated back. Wow! After retreating for dozens of meters in the air, Yizan still stood on the ground as if he was standing on the ground, standing firmly in the air, but his breath was a little short, and the battle just now had consumed him a lot. Combat power. On the opposite side, Sharu was not much better than Yizan. The battle between the two was too strong, and both sides were consuming their own combat power and kept insisting. With a smile from Kiba, Shalu showed a gloomy smile and said, "Yizan, not bad, after so many battles, you can still stand here, and your strength is stronger than I imagined." Ha ha, Yizan didn't answer. After sneering, he slowly pulled out the vampire sword from behind. A little blue light radiated from the sword. The sword body pointed at Sharu. Yizan snorted, "Sharu, it's time to make a break. Come on, use your most powerful strength." When he said this, the ghost sword in Yizan's hand, a powerful blue light, suddenly lit up from the hilt, and rushed forward quickly, illuminating the entire sword. Very flickering. "Ha, it's exactly what I want." Sharu laughed and flew into the sky. With great speed and strength, he broke through the clouds, rushed into the atmosphere, pierced that layer of atmosphere, and flew straight into the cosmic stars. Yeah! With a wave of the vampire sword in Yizan's hand, a strong blue light flew out, chasing behind Shalu. Hey! That sword light, like a lightning-like light, also rushed out of the earth and chased into the stars of the universe. The strong slash behind Shalu made him look behind him involuntarily. His face suddenly turned cold, and he cursed inwardly, "Damn, the strength has increased so fast." Suddenly turning around, Shalu raised his right hand, condensed a strong light, and slapped it fiercely. The shock wave flew out of the cosmic stars and hit Yizan's slash, which exploded in an instant, and a layer swayed around it. Ripple. Whoosh. Before this layer of ripples had time to disappear, Yizan's figure rushed from the ground, flew in front of Shalu, waved the ghost sword in his hand, towards Shalu's waist, ruthlessly slashed hard. The sword's edge flashed, and the light and impact came at the same time. Even Sharu couldn't help but change color, and quickly flashed back to the side. At the same time, Shalu dodged to the side, dodged the slash, reversed and kicked back, and went straight to Yizan's lower abdomen, with great strength. Whoosh! The power in Yizan's body suddenly burst out, making Yizan's entire arm full of power, and the muscles continued to expand, and then he punched out a fist and met Sharu's foot. Boom! The attacks of the two collided, and there was a loud noise. The entire space of the Buddha would be shattered at this time, and some streak-like cracks were also produced. Vegeta, who was watching this battle in hell, had their eyes locked even more. This battle was too strong, and any blow would seem to break the space. After a few moves in a row, Shalu was blown to the side of the moon by Yizan's heavy punch, and almost fell into the moon. Whoosh! Sharu let out a sigh of turbid air, rushed forward, flew back at the fastest speed, and rushed straight to the sky above Yizan. Sharu was punched by Yizan just now, blood still flowed from the corner of his mouth, and he looked embarrassed, but more, it was Sharu's anger. He shouted, "Yizan, now I want you to disappear from this universe, disappear forever." Ha, I can not only absorb the power of the strong, but also other powers in the universe. Sharu showed his arrogant side, and a light suddenly lit up above his arms. Those powerful rays of light began to disperse around, and other rays and particles in the universe were quickly absorbed by Sharu. And just at this moment, Sharu's body suddenly became bigger, his abdomen and chest became swelled, his muscles became very huge, and his strength continuously emerged from his body. Gulu. The power around him seemed to be sucked dry by Sharu, and even the moon behind him began to shrink. It seemed that because of Sharu, the power was slowly shrinking. Seeing this scene, Yizan's eyes couldn't help but squinted slightly. He didn't expect that Sharu's ability has evolved to be so powerful that even the energy in the universe can be absorbed into the body. Om. Yizan slowly pulled out the ghost sword, and a cold light burst out from the sword glow, approaching Sharu. Drink! Sharu shouted, his mouth opened wide, and a powerful suction burst out, sucking E0.0's attack into his stomach instantly. Hey! Shalu sneered, staring at Yi Xuandao. The power in the universe is in my master, you can't kill me. Sharu, the strongest blow. Suddenly, a whirlwind erupted beside Sharu, and the surrounding space was suddenly absorbed into a uzumaki. A powerful force poured out little by little from Sharu's body, and the power condensed together, distorting Sharu's body. Ziz! The powerful uzumaki kept twisting, and finally turned into a huge light. In front of Yizan, a powerful flash made Yizan's line of sight temporarily become unclear. Chapter 109_finally won. What a dazzling light! Yizan couldn't help but be startled in his heart, raised his right hand, and blocked it in front of him. Ziz! Sharu's whole body was flooded with bursts of electricity, covering his whole body, and the powerful power gathered on the ball of light in his hand, and it was about to bombard him in an instant. Yeah, go to hell. With Sharu's loud shout, he threw his hands down, and a terrifying force flew down from Sharu's sky and rushed straight to Yizan's body. The place, all flickered violently. Feeling the strong light coming from the front, Yizan hurriedly raised the strength in his body and displayed a powerful protective shield in front of him. The white light vaguely formed a hard protective shield and blocked it. Boom! All of a sudden, the powerful rays of light impacted in front of Yizan, and slammed into his barrier mercilessly. The 30-strong force almost burst the barrier out. Super Saiyan Second Order Form. Yizan bit Kiba and shouted suddenly. A powerful force burst out from his body in an instant, and a golden light flashed through the whole person, becoming the form of a Super Saiyan. Om! Like flames, around Yizan's body, power burst out continuously, attracting the surrounding space to his body. When the strong light was about to smash the barrier, Yizan suddenly exerted his strength, slapped a powerful palm, impacted the light, and stepped back a little. Such a powerful force and attack, in the universe, kept flashing bright lights and power explosions, and loud noises sounded all around, as if to destroy the entire space. At this time, Shalu and Yizan, who were at the center of the explosion and battle, were both struggling to attack, but they were unwilling to take a half step back. Damn! Yizan suddenly bit Kiba, took out the vampire sword in his hand, condensed a force in his right palm, slapped it down, and that force fell on the vampire sword. On the hilt of the vampire sword, there is a ghost character carved on it. As long as you touch it a little, those powerful rays of light are like the explosion of cosmic stars, and the strong light keeps flashing out. Hoo-hoo! Several loud shouts sounded, and from around the blue sword body, a few illusory shadows suddenly appeared, all revolving around the vampire sword. Not only that, the vampire sword seemed to have sensed something, and in just a short moment, it became much larger, and the shadow of a sword blade appeared in front of Yizan. As soon as the huge sword shadow appeared, it was just like the moment it met in hell. The sword light flickered in the stars of the universe, and countless souls and shadows were constantly surrounding the ghost sword. Hey, those powerful rays of light had not been completely absorbed, and finally they all turned into bursts of rays of light, were defeated in the air, and finally drifted into the distance. At the same time, Yizan maximized the power of the ghost sword, and a huge suction force exploded from the sword body, as if there was a ribbon, and then pulled Sharu's soul. Even when it was the most critical time, Sharu didn't know why his soul was going to be sucked away. Ah! Ah! After roaring a few times, the soul in Sharu's body couldn't hold on any longer, and was quickly pulled back by the vampire sword, almost being pulled out. After a while of discomfort, Sharu's mouth spurted out a mouthful of blue blood, and the power in his body suddenly collapsed in just a moment, and it felt like it was about to burst at any time. Finally, under the stars of the universe, Sharu's body became extremely distorted, and was suddenly absorbed. He yelled in pain, "No!" But all of this was because revolving heaven was powerless. Sharu, even with his body and soul, was brought into the body of the sword by the vampire sword, absorbing his entire body. It was a dark and boundless space. After Sharu entered, he couldn't feel anything except pitch black, which was pitch black, and there was no second color to be found at all. At this time, outside the space, Yizan flew alone and stood under the formation of the universe, with a solemn expression on his face. After fighting for so long, he finally defeated Salad. Staring at the vampire sword in his hand, Yizan couldn't help but let out a sigh. He didn't expect the power of the sand vampire sword to be so powerful. At the moment Sharu was sucked in, the stars in space beside Yizan also became much calmer, and the place where the battle had just passed became quieter. After making sure that he couldn't feel Sharu's breath, Yizan nodded slightly and brought the ghost sword back into his body. The entire ghost sword has been integrated with Yizan's body. If Jack wants to control it, it's just a very easy thing. Shalu was absorbed into the ghost sword. Yizan could not perceive the opponent's strong power, glanced down, and the blue earth appeared in front of Jack's eyes. It was the first time that Yizan looked under the earth through this angle, and the azure blue planet completely showed the most perfect appearance. It was such a planet that had countless lives on it. How can such a beautiful place be destroyed? Yizan smiled slightly and flew to the top of the earth. After passing through the atmosphere, Yizan flew directly into the sky above the god realm, jumped directly below, and returned to the top of the temple. At the temple, Bulma and the gods have been waiting there for a long time. Lan Qi, who had fainted before, has also woken up and returned to his blue hair. Yizan, what's the matter? Has Shalu been defeated by you? As soon as Bulma saw Yizan back, she ran over excitedly. Yeah, Yizan nodded, showing a faint smile to Boomer. Really, that's really great. Bulma couldn't help cheering, ran to Yizan's side, hugged him directly, and kissed Yizan's face heavily. Chapter 110 _ All kinds of flirting. It was the first time that Boomer was so enthusiastic. Yizan couldn't help showing a smile on his face. He also reached out and hugged Boomer, bowed his head, and kissed her lips. Yeah, I just wanted to kiss Yizan, but unexpectedly, he was kissed on the lips by the other party, which made Boomer's face turn yui instantly, and he couldn't even raise his head when he was shy. After a long time, Bulma felt that her body was about to melt, and Yi Shuinkai slowly released Bulma, letting her go limp on his body. You bastard, I'm so annoying. Bulma thumped Yizan's shoulder twice, and then ran to the side. Hey, didn't I return my respect to you? Why are you so shy? Yizan smiled, but couldn't help but feel a little smug in his heart. Taking advantage of Bulma was still a very cool thing. Cough cough. The god next to him pretended to cough a few times before walking over to Yizan's side, holding the scepter, and said, Yizan, has Sharu been killed by you now? For the gods, being able to kill Sharu is the best result. For such a terrifying guy, staying on the earth is always a scourge. Nodding his head, Yizan said, I think in this world, there is no Shalu anymore. Receiving this answer, the gods finally felt relieved. Seeing the golden circle on Yizan's head, he couldn't help but ask, King Yama let you back this time, and let you stay on Earth for how long? After all, Yizan was killed by Shalu in the previous battle, and now he wants to return to the Earth. If there is no special permission, he will not be able to stay for long. After all, in this world, if everyone is with Yizan, if it is the same, the hell in the human world will be extremely chaotic. Originally, Yizan could use the reincarnation to reincarnate, but Yizan waved his hand and said, Sharu killed Goku, Vegeta and the others, I have to find Dragon Ball to bring everyone back to life, as well as the Earth. Those who were killed by Sharu will also be resurrected. Quote. Of course, Yizan's most important purpose was to resurrect himself. Speaking of Dragon Balls, the gods couldn't help but sighed slightly and said, with my ability to create Dragon Balls, I'm afraid I can't achieve this ability. If I want to resurrect the dead on Earth, I'm afraid I have to go to Namek, only the Great Elder. The power to do this. Quote. After all, the gods are only Nameks who have fallen to the earth. The ability to create Dragon Balls is not so powerful, and the wishes that Shenlong can achieve are not so perfect. Since I'm going to Namek, then I'll go there. Since I'm going to Namek to find the Great Elder, Yi Zan agreed immediately. Fortunately, he and the Great Elder have some friendship and asked him to help him with this. Busy, it should be no problem. Okay, then I'll trouble you to take a trip. It was precisely because Yi Zan had been to Namek that the gods wanted Yi Zan to go there for a walk. After agreeing to this matter, Yi Zan did not hesitate, walked directly to Chi-Chi's side, and said to her, I'm going to Namek, you go with me. The docile Chi-Chi naturally wouldn't reject Yi Zan's request. She smiled lightly, nodded and said, well, what about Buma, do you want to ask her to go with me? No need, we'll be back when we go, it won't be too long. Taking a look in the distance, Yi Zan shook his head and said helplessly. According to Yi Zan's understanding of the original Boomer, she is not such a person. It is really strange that she is so shy now. Without thinking any further, Yi Zan brought Chi-Chi with him, used teleportation, and quickly headed to Namek. Shoo! In just an instant, Yi Zan came to the distant Namek from the realm of the gods. The mellow air made Yi Zan couldn't help but take a deep breath. It has been a while since he left Namek last time, and this time he came back, which made Yi Zan feel like he was back in the old place. At this time, Namek has become even more beautiful after that war. There are green grass and rivers everywhere, and the mountains and trees are extremely dense. If you look at it from a distance, it is a very comfortable feeling. The Namekians are a hard-working and intelligent race. They can do their best to transform a planet and have the most special abilities. Wow, it's so beautiful here. Falling next to a river, Kiki also showed a smile and couldn't help reaching out to feel the breeze of nature. Yi Zan landed on Lan Chi's side, slowly stretched out his hand, embraced her from her waist, slowly leaned over his head, put his head on Lan Chi's shoulder, and showed a smile. The soft body leaning on Yi Zan's body made Yi Zan feel a sense of comfort. The charm of a mature woman made Yi Zan deeply attracted. Before she knew it, Chi-Chi had changed from a little loli to a girl, a mature woman who can suck. Now that Sharu has been solved, the matter of resurrecting with Dragon Balls is just a very simple matter. At this moment, Yi Zan thought so in his heart, if he can feel more softness, he will feel more. PFF'd. In the wide river in front, a big fish suddenly jumped up, and with a flick in midair, a wave of waves was thrown from its tail, and then it fell into the rolling waves. The fish of Namek are very different from those on Earth. They have blue skin and no scales. They look very strange and beautiful. Look at that fish, it's so beautiful. Chi-Chi was excited, she reached out and pointed to the front, but she felt that Yi Zan was hugging her body, and couldn't help but grinned Yuhi. Turning her head slowly, Chi-Chi happened to see Yi Zan's resolute face. Under the flickering sunlight, her heart skipped a beat. Yi Zan, you. When talking to Yi Zan at close range, Chi-Chi's face couldn't help but slightly Yuhi, a little embarrassed. You are so beautiful. Yi Zan smiled lightly, hugged Chi-Chi from behind, and slowly kissed her. Kiki's expression was slightly taken aback, but then she closed her eyes again, quietly welcoming this moment. Her breathing became a little more urgent. Whoosh! Suddenly, several figures flew from afar, and landed in front of Yi Zan and Chi-Chi with the fastest speed. Mr. Yi Zan, welcome to Namek again. The few people who flew over were the Nameks on this planet. Chapter 111-Namek's Little Day. The sudden appearance of several Namek warriors startled Yi Zan, and the lips that had not yet been kissed suddenly stopped, and they looked over with their eyes, and their faces were extremely ugly. I won't come early, I won't come late, but this time. Yi Zan was speechless for a while in his heart. If it wasn't for the fact that he was relatively familiar with the people from Namek, he probably would have beaten these guys hard. Seeing this scene on the spot, Chi-Chi's face suddenly turned to Yuhi. She turned her head shyly to the side, and leaned on Yi-zan's shoulder. Although the Namekians are a little sluggish about emotional matters, they know what's going on. Looking at the shy Chi-Chi, one of the Namekian warriors said, "Mr. Yi-zan, why don't we go back first? When you're done kissing, we'll come again." Hearing the words of the Namek warrior, Yi-zan really wanted to go up and kick him. This guy is too slow to speak. He has come here, and he has to say a few more idiotic words. Helplessly waved his hand, Yi-zan said, "Forget it, it's all right. How did you know we were here?" "Oh," the Namekian warrior nodded and said, "Through the crystal ball, the elder has a premonition that you are coming back to Namek, so we came here specially to welcome you." This old guy, 307, is really accurate. Yi-zan couldn't help but muttered in his heart, but then he said to the Namek warrior, "Then take us to him, just as I have something to do." "Yeah." Several Namek warriors nodded and flew towards the tribe with Yi-zan. Although Chi-Chi was a little shy, she still held hands with Yi-zan and flew towards the Namekian tribe. After the last battle, Namek has undergone a large-scale transformation, and now it has become very beautiful. The tribe has also built new houses, which are much less defensive than before. This is because the elders are worried that they will meet again to a strong enemy, and set up a defense. After a few people fell outside the tribe, before anyone could report, the great elder walked out with a few Nameks, as if he had expected Yi-zan to come. Seeing Yi-zan staring at a circle of light above his head, the first elder couldn't help but be a little surprised. "Yi-zan, the battle between you and Sharu is so serious." Looking up at the circle above his head, Yi-zan smiled indifferently and said, "Elder, can't you all guess it?" Before he even came here, the first elder guessed that he was here, and now asking these questions, Yi-zan couldn't help but be speechless. The elder shook his head and said, "When you approached Namek, I could guess where you were going. What really happened is still hard to predict. Otherwise, last time Namek was attacked by Sharu. The attack, if I could have foreseen it, would not have been so dangerous." Quote. "Okay, so it is." Yi-zan nodded, and then said, "In the previous battle with Shalu, this guy was too strong. I was killed by him, and then King Yama let me come back to fight, but the people on Earth, and many were killed by Shalu. The purpose of my coming here is to borrow the Dragon Balls on your planet to help us make a wish. After all, the gods on Earth do not have such a strong strength." Quote. After listening to this translation, the first elder finally understood and said, "So you came here for this matter. I understand, but there is something I want to tell you. It's not long since the last time I made a wish. The created Dragon Balls cannot be used for the time being." Quote. "What?" Yi-zan couldn't help but exclaimed in surprise, and said a little excitedly, "Then what should we do? How to resurrect so many people on Earth?" The most important thing is that Yi-zan didn't want Tenten to bear the light on his head. In this case, how could he pick up girls? Those beauties who saw him would probably run away without saying hello. I haven't finished speaking yet. What are you excited about? There are still many ways to do it." The elder smiled and waved to a young man behind him. Hearing this, Yi-zan was relieved. If there is no Dragon Ball, he really doesn't know what to do. If he waits another year, it is estimated that he will collapse. Soon, from behind the great elder, a Namekian boy came out. According to the appearance of the earth, this boy was only 14 or 15 years old, but if it was calculated according to the lifespan of Namek, it would not be. I know it's 100 years old. The boy's skin was green, with 2 tentacles growing on his forehead, and he was wearing a cape, which was no different from an ordinary Namekian. "Come on, Yi-zan, let me introduce to you. This is the genius of our Namek star, Shaoshan." The elder pointed to the young man and introduced it to Yi-zan. The Namekian known as Shaoshan also politely walked up to Yi-zan, bowed to him, and said, "Hello, Mr. Yi-zan, Miss Lanky." Seeing this young Namek star, Yi-zan suddenly remembered that in the original book, there seems to be such a person. He came from Namek to the god world on Earth and became a new god. At that time, he was just an old man. The god is dead. Smiling at Xiaoshan, Yizan said, "Elder, do you mean that he can help us?" The elder nodded and said, "Yes, Xiaoshan is a genius that we have only seen in Namek for hundreds of years. With his current ability, he has been able to create a dragon that can make 3 wishes. I want him to go to Earth with you and help you resurrect the dead." "That's great." Yizan couldn't help but be surprised, then turned to Xiaoshan and asked, "Xiaoshan, would you like to go to Earth with us?" Xiaoshan has already understood the general matter, nodded and said, "If it weren't for Mr. Yizan, our Namek planet would have been destroyed. Of course I am willing to go back with you to help." "Okay." After the matter was settled, Yizan nodded and said, "If you are willing, what are you waiting for? We will go back to Earth now." Chapter 112-3 Wishes. Soon, after saying hello to the elders, Yizan took Xiaoshan back to the God Realm. Seeing the destroyed God Realm, Xiaoshan was also shocked. He didn't expect that a place could be destroyed. "It's so serious, I really can't imagine what kind of war it has experienced here." When Tianshan saw Yizan came back, he walked over with a wooden staff and saw the expression on the face of Xiaoshan, who was also a Namek star. Namek has never seen anyone of the same race as her. Seeing that the gods were so excited, Yizan couldn't help saying, "Gods, if you have a chance, I'll take you back to Namek to see your hometown." Although he really wanted to go back, the god still shook his head and said, "No need, if I go back suddenly, I'm afraid I will be reluctant to return to Earth." Yizan had no way to understand this feeling of being in a foreign land, so he had to respect the choice of the gods, and after a few chats, Xiaoshan said, "If you want to need it, you need to create a new 7 Dragon Balls. But this process may take several hours." Quote, "No problem." Both Tianshan and Yizan nodded. It might take a long time to wait a year, but if it's just a few hours, it's still okay. Soon, the gods took Xiaoshan to his secret room, ready to make Dragon Balls, and even the Dragon Balls made by the gods themselves were made from that secret room. "Well, things have finally developed in a good way, it's great." Yizan couldn't help but stretched his waist and took a deep breath. This battle cost him a lot of elves. "Yizan, you bastard." Suddenly, from behind Yizan, there was a shout of "Boomer," and then, a heavy hammer smashed Yizan's head. Ouch! Even Yizan didn't expect that Boomer would sneak up on him from behind, so he didn't take precautions in advance. It hurts to be hit so suddenly. Touching his forehead, Yizan turned around and looked at Boomer, who was angrily behind him, stretched out his hands on his hips, and held a heavy hammer in his hand, and said very puzzledly, "Bulma, what are you doing?" Pointing at Yizan, Bulma pouted unhappily, "Why do you secretly go to Namek and don't take me there? Do you think we should fight?" It turned out to be because of this. Yizan was speechless for a while. "Woman," Yizan quickly comforted, "didn't I find you? So I went by myself. I didn't know you were here, right? If you didn't find me, then you won't look for me." He rushed up in anger, and Bulma clenched a small pink fist, and chased Yizan and smashed it. Seeing that Bulma was showing his power, Yi Shuinkan let out a cry, and hurriedly ran to the back, letting Bulma chase after him to vent his anger, otherwise, Bulma would not know how long he would be angry. Chasing and making trouble for a long time, until Tianshan and Xiaoshan came out, Bulma and Yizan's chasing stopped. Both of them were standing next to them, gasping for breath, as if they were very tired. Boomer was really tired. Yizan just pretended. If he didn't cooperate with Boomer, he would have to be taught a lesson by her. "What are you doing?" Xiaoshan and Tianshan walked out holding the Dragon Ball and couldn't help asking. "Wow, Dragon Ball." As soon as he saw the Dragon Ball in the hands of Tianshan and Xiaoshan, Boomer couldn't help but be overjoyed, and little stars appeared in his eyes. For Dragon Ball, Boomer liked it very much. Yizan also raised a smile on the corner of his mouth. Xiaoshan is indeed a genius boy from Namek, and the Dragon Balls he created are no different from those of the elders, and they are also the larger ones. This is for saving the earth and resurrecting everyone, don't mess around. Yizan couldn't help but warned Boomer, for fear that she would come out and make trouble when she was making a wish. It would be bad. Humph! Bulma snorted coldly, ignoring Yizan, but turned his head to the other side. Xiaoshan, since the Dragon Balls are all made, let's start summoning the dragon. Yizan said to Xiaoshan. Okay. Xiaoshan nodded, put these Dragon Balls in the open space next to them, and began to use a spell to summon the dragon. Shenlong, come out. In order to be able to cooperate with the dragons on Earth, Xiaoshan deliberately made the spells much simpler. After a loud bang, some fat dragons flashed out in a dark cloud, and said to Xiaoshan and the others, if you have any wishes, just say them. Yizan, who had already prepared his wish, without hesitation, stepped forward and said quickly, the first wish, let all those who died in this battle be resurrected. No problem. Shenlong nodded, a flash of light flashed, and he had cast a spell, causing the entire earth to light up for a while, and those who had been killed were all resurrected. Yizan raised his head and glanced at the top of his head. The circle of light that had been flickering before had disappeared at this time, which made Yizan also twitch the corners of his mouth. You don't need to use reincarnation, not bad. Ha, ha, several rays of light lit up around the temple, and Vegeta, Wukong, Tianjin Fan, Piccolo, Bobo and others who were killed by Sharu before were all resurrected. When everyone came back to life, they couldn't help but be surprised. When they were in hell, they all saw Yizan trying to save them, and they were full of gratitude for Yizan in their hearts. What else do you wish for? Say it quickly. Shenlong asked again. Through the high clouds, Yizan looked under the earth, and could see the destroyed and messy earth, which had been damaged beyond recognition, and those cities, which had become ruins. Although life has been resurrected, the people of the earth can't help but fall into pain when they see their destroyed homes. Everyone does not want to see their homes destroyed. The second wish is to restore the destroyed earth to its original state. Yizan said loudly. Chapter 113-Back to Earth. The earth was severely damaged by Shalu. If only relying on the power of human beings to slowly restore the destroyed homeland, it would take a long time to build it back to its original state, so Yizan simply used the power of the dragon to help the earth recover. No problem. When the second wish came out, the fat dragon nodded, and a powerful light radiated from his body, illuminating the surroundings. Whoosh! Those rays of light flew down and went straight to the earth. In a short period of time, the rays of light enveloped the entire earth and slowly repaired the earth. By Sharu and number 17 and number 18 before are all springing up like bamboo shoots after a rain. The earthlings who were still in a state of pain before, after experiencing sadness, saw their homeland miraculously restored to its original state, and everyone showed a surprised expression. It was a hell and heaven experience. When everything returned to normal, the slightly obese Shenlong continued to ask, say your third wish. Yizan, can you wait a minute? Suddenly, Bulma, who was beside him, saw that Yizan was about to make a third wish, and hurriedly stopped him. Turning to look at Boomer, Yizan asked strangely, what's wrong, Boomer? Although a little embarrassed, Bulma finally summoned up his courage, walked to Yizan's side, and glanced at the fat dragon. Then he said to Yizan, Yizan, you know, girls love to be pretty, and now that the earth has returned to its original state, can you give the third wish, me and Chi-Chi? We want to become prettier. Yizan pondered, and after a while, he shook his head and said, Buma, although the earth has returned to its original state, the pain left in people's hearts has not yet recovered. I want this world to be as peaceful as before. There is only one more wish. Even though there was a lot of reluctance in his heart, Buma was not an ignorant person. He smiled slightly and said, okay, then we can only wait for the next time. Don't worry, I will definitely find Dragon Balls for you next time, and let you make a wish. Yizan said with confidence, showing a smile. After a while, Yizan glanced at the dragon that appeared high in the sky, and shouted loudly, the third wish, except for us, let everyone on earth forget this terrible memory. If you want to restore peace to the earth, there is probably no better way than to let everyone forget this matter completely. Hey! Shenlong's body once again emitted a burst of light, swaying on the earth, causing everyone to lose that memory in an instant. People on Earth who have forgotten this memory are a little strange about their current behavior. In their minds, what happened before Sharu has been completely forgotten. Soon, the Earth returned to its previous peaceful state, and all people continued their lives. When the 3 wishes were fulfilled, the slightly fat dragon in the sky, and then the light began to dissipate, the pair of eyes glowing with Yuhi light, stared at Yizan, and said, "The wishes have been fulfilled. Goodbye." The rays of light condensed around, and the dragon disappeared instantly. In the sky, it turned into 7 rays of light and flew to every part of the earth. After Shenlong left, everything became calm again. Yizan and everyone were resurrected, Sharu was also eliminated, and the faces of the gods and the gods couldn't help showing smiles. Hey! From the bottom of the temple, a figure suddenly ran up, and instantly rushed to everyone's face, and laughed. "Everyone is fine, that's great." It was none other than the Turtle Immortal. Since the outbreak of this battle, the Turtle Immortal has been staying on the island until now, and has only escaped. Seeing the Turtle Immortal whom he hadn't seen for a long time, Yizan also had a smile on his face, walked over there, and said, "Hello, Turtle Immortal, long time no see." "Oh, it's Yizan, I haven't seen you for so long, and you've become stronger again." Immortal Turtle held the sunglasses on the bridge of his nose, and couldn't help but admire. The powerful aura surprised him a little. Afterwards, Immortal Turtle looked to the side again, and found that Buma and Kiki were behind him. He couldn't help sniffing his nose. He quickly ran to Buma and said with a smile, "Hee hee, Buma, it's been a while." Bang! Before the last word was finished, Buma squeezed his fist and smashed it hard on Immortal Turtle's bald head, and immediately smashed Immortal Turtle and flew out. You must know that since Bulma and Yizan were together, their strength has also improved a lot, and the combat power is at least several hundred. It is not a problem to deal with the Immortal Turtle. What's more, Buma is not in a good mood now, and Immortal Turtle rushed up, definitely asking for trouble. After the earth returned to its original state, Xiaoshan walked up to Yizan, tugged at his sleeve, and said, "Mr. Yizan, your wish has been fulfilled, and I should go back too." Hearing that Xiaoshan said he was going to leave, Buma immediately came over and said with a smile, "Xiaoshan, it's rare for you to come to Earth, why don't you stay here for a few more days, what do you think?" Of Shenlong just now, Buma has long been thinking in his heart 0.7, when there is a chance, he should fool Xiaoshan and help himself get a Dragon Ball, and then he can make a good wish. However, Xiaoshan shook his head and said, "You want me to stay here for an impure purpose? You want me to help you make Dragon Balls? How do you know what I think?" Buma's expression couldn't help but be surprised. How could he know what was in his heart? "Because I have the ability to read minds, I can see what you're thinking," Xiaoshan said. After all, Namaks are very different from Earth people. Namaks have many peculiar abilities. Making Dragon Balls is one of their most powerful abilities. For them, mind reading is just a trifle. Chapter 114_Hell is wrong. Hearing that Xiaoshan can read minds, Bulma couldn't help but startled, and quickly stepped back several steps, looked at him with some fear and said, "God, then you are too crazy, what are we thinking? You know it all." Xiaoshan shook his head and said, "No way, only someone with very low strength like you will be able to see what I have in mind, such as Mr. Yizan who are very powerful, my mind-reading skills basically ineffective against him." Quote. Hearing this, Yizan next to him couldn't help but heave a sigh of relief. If this kid can really see everyone's thoughts, then he doesn't know all of his little thoughts. The god, who has not spoken, came over with a cane and said to Xiaoshan, "Xiaoshan, I have a request, I don't know if I should tell you." They are all Namekians, and Xiaoshan also has a certain affection for the gods, nodded and said, "If I can do it, I will definitely help." "That's good." The god nodded in relief, and said, "I am old, and the god world needs a new god, so I want you to take the responsibility and become a new god, and Piccolo is my share. 30, I want to make it stronger." Quote. Speaking of this, the eyes of the gods fell on little Piccolo, with some doting in his eyes, as if the elders were looking at their own children. Indeed, in a sense, little Piccolo is the child of the gods, and they are all part of his body. In the face of the sudden request, Xiaoshen's expression was still a little surprised. He didn't expect that the gods would want to serve as the new gods here. Wei Wei was silent for a while, and then the little genius said, "This matter is very important, I have to communicate with the first elder." Yizan also smiled and said, "If Xiaoshen can serve as the new god here, it would be great, haha." The reason why Yizan is so happy is mainly because the last time the gods asked him to succeed him, but he rejected him. He didn't want to be the master of this temple, and then stayed in this place all day. His goal was to conquer the universe. Now someone replaced him, of course it was too late to be happy. Yeah, nodding, Xiaoshen used a special method to communicate directly from Earth to the Great Elder of Namek. After talking with him, he said to Yizan and the others that he accepted it. The elders agreed with Xiaoshen to stay on Earth. After all, Yizan saved Namek, and Xiaoshen's talent is very good, and he also needs experience. It is the best to be the new god on Earth. Everything was happy. When everyone was about to start celebrating, Yizan received another message from King Yama. "Yizan, now that Shalu has been resolved, you should also return the ghost sword, otherwise, the 18th layer of hell will not be able to suppress it." The voice of King Yama, directly transmitted to Yizan's mind. It was hard to get such a good baby. Originally, Yizan planned to take it for himself, but he did not expect that King Yama would come to ask, so he had to give up this idea. "Okay, I'll be right here." Yizan also answered this sentence with a sense of consciousness in his mind. Looking at everyone who was preparing a banquet to celebrate the victory, Yizan said to everyone, "I have something to do with King Yama. I will go there first, and when I come back, I will celebrate with everyone." Although he was a little reluctant to bear Yizan, Bulma still said, "Then you have to go back early, don't make us wait too long." "Don't worry, I'll come back after I've dealt with things, you guys celebrate first." Smiling at everyone, Yizan used teleportation to rush from the temple to hell. Seeing Yizan disappearing here, Vegeta couldn't help but squinted slightly, not knowing what to think. But Wukong said a little excitedly, "Wow, brother Yizan has become stronger again, and I have to hurry up to practice in the future. I really want to become a strong man like brother Yizan one day." After leaving the temple, Yizan came to hell in an instant. At this time, in the Hall of Hell, all the big ghosts and little ghosts are already busy. They are running non-stop, throwing those things that can be lifted into a black hole behind the hall, as if filling up with something. As soon as he grabbed it, Yizan caught a ghost and asked, "Where is King Yama, why isn't he here?" That ghost messenger had seen Yizan before and knew that he had some friendship with King Yama, so he didn't dare not to answer Yizan's words. He quickly pointed to the back of the hall and said, "Master Yama is there, go find him yourself." Quote. Yeah, Yizan glanced at the back of the hall, and sure enough, he saw a huge figure busy, and who else could those two huge horn-pointed hats be besides King Yama? Walking directly to the back, Yizan saw that King Yama, whose body was 660 shaped like a small hill, was directing the little ghosts under his command to fill the deep hole behind the main hall. "King Yama, what are you doing?" Yizan couldn't help asking beside him. As soon as he heard Yizan's voice, King Yama turned to look behind him. His expression on his face could not express his excitement. He quickly walked to Yizan's side, opened his arms, and gave Yizan a ruthless hug. "You finally here, I have thanked all the flowers that I waited for you." Due to the difference in body size between the two, Yizan was held by King Yama, and the whole person felt very uncomfortable and felt squeezed. What made Yizan speechless was that he had used teleportation himself. With such a fast speed, King Yama was actually too slow. However, although there was dissatisfaction in his heart, Yizan was not easy to say it, so he had to say, "I don't know what is the reason why Lord Yama is so eager to come to me." Pointing to the bottomless hole next to him, King Yama said, since I took away the ghost sword last time, this big hole has appeared here, and the powerful ghosts that came out of the 18th hell have almost been suppressed. Hold on, you have to return the vampire sword quickly and suppress them. Chapter 115_Hoo-hoo. Hoo-hoo. When he was finished speaking, from the deep pit not far away, a few violent muffled noises suddenly came from there, and there were bursts of low roars, as if there was something, like rushing out of that deep pit. No, those ghosts are about to run out. King Yama's expression changed, and he hurriedly walked towards the deep hole. But the black energy coming from the entrance of the cave was so powerful that even King Yama couldn't help but retreat a few steps back, not daring to go to the front easily. Ha ha! From the pitch-black hole, after black gas emerged, there was a burst of laughter, very arrogant. Immediately afterwards, a rough man's voice rang again. King Yama, without the vampire sword, see how you trapped us and suppressed me for hundreds of years, I want to take revenge. That sound was the devilish sound of hell, and when it reached the ears of every ghost, they all screamed at Kiba, and it was very painful to release a Buddha. King Yama was also taken aback, and quickly said to Yizan, what are you waiting for? After taking away the ghost sword, the evil spirits inside can't be suppressed anymore, you hurry up and stop them. Me, Yizan felt a little puzzled, but he had never fought a ghost in hell before. It's not you, am I still playing in person? King Yama, who was very anxious, hurriedly pushed Yizan. In desperation, Yizan had no choice but to take out the ghost sword, jumped into the pitch-black hole next to it, and a powerful blue light burst out from the sword in Yizan's hand. That blue light suddenly became very powerful, and it rushed into the black hole in an instant, making a roaring sound of breaking wind, causing everything around it to become a little distorted. In the black hole, there are all the evil spirits from the 18 layers of hell. When they encounter the attack of the vampire sword, they all retreat back quickly and let out a loud roar, appearing very frightened, afraid of the vampire sword. Strength. Whoosh! With the ghost sword in hand, Yizan jumped directly into that huge black hole, and fell a few powerful blue light on the head. The ghost who wanted to break out of the bondage before turned into a huge phantom and appeared in front of Yizan. After being illuminated by the blue light, he roared angrily. Damn, if you want to stop me from going out, I will fight with you. The huge ghost roared and jumped towards Yizan with Kiba's claws. HMPH, I'm not self-sufficient. Yizan let out a low voice, and cut out a blue beam of light. The powerful sword beam turned into a shock wave, producing a powerful force. All things interact with each other. Although these ghosts are powerful, when they encounter the ghost sword, it is like fire meets ice, and everything is immediately extinguished. The power to resist. The ghosts who were still extremely angry before were absorbed in this period of time, and the rest of the ghosts who saw this scene were also scared and panicked. Wherever they dared to stay here, they all dispersed. Yizan chased after the victory and used the power of the ghost sword to drive these ghosts back to the 18th floor of hell, and he flew into it himself. Yizan had been to the 18th hell with King Yama before, and Yizan was quite familiar with this place. It was just an endless pitch-dark world. Who? Beside Yizan, countless ghosts screamed and kept surrounding Yizan, as if he came with a ghost sword, and came to them. That said, it was a major disruption. Ignoring the screams of these ghosts, Yizan threw the ghost sword in his hand into the sky, and a strong light burst out immediately, as if to illuminate the endless darkness. Om! The body of the vampire sword suddenly became very huge, and a powerful aura suddenly burst out, and the radiance radiated out, causing the ghosts around them to mourn. Amidst the wailing of many ghosts, the vampire sword became as huge as before, swirling in midair for a few times, and finally fell into the center of the 18 layers of hell, and plunged into it fiercely. Kang! With only half of the sword body left outside, a burst of blue light erupted from the vampire sword, with the sword body as the center, rippling into a circle and dispersing around. Immediately, the surroundings seemed to form ice cubes, so that those ghosts were frozen inside, losing the power of the crazy roar, and the surroundings fell into peace. The ghost sword has a powerful deterrent power, no matter how powerful these ghosts were before, as long as they encounter the ghost sword, their power will be weakened in an instant, and they will be suppressed by the power of the sword. Can't move at all. In the middle of the vampire sword, Yizan took a few steps around the huge sword, and Chunin couldn't help but admire. Unfortunately, I can't get this good thing, otherwise, I will use it later. It is also a good treasure to deal with other powerhouses. Quote. 18 layers of hell. After the tranquility was restored, Yizan didn't stay here for long. He flew up, rushed out of the black hole, and reappeared behind the hall of King Yama. Since Yizan entered the 18th floor of hell, King Yama has been waiting on it. Now that Yizan came out, the expression on his face became a little surprised. Everything is done. King Yama quickly stepped forward and asked. Nodding his head, Yizan said, everything is all right. Those ghosts were suppressed by me in the 18th hell again, and it is estimated that they will never be able to turn over again. That's good, I know that my vision can't be wrong, your Yizan's strength is so strong, haha. King Yama couldn't help showing a smile and kept praising Yizan. I almost gave him a thumbs up. Although he didn't have much contact with King Yama, Yizan also knew that if this old guy hadn't thought about hell, he probably wouldn't have helped himself so wholeheartedly. Chapter 116 _ Snakeheim. But King Yama still helped himself to a certain extent. Yizan should be polite, but he was polite to King Yama. Soon, Yizan was dragged into the hall by King Yama and wanted to keep Yizan here for a while, but Yizan refused. Just kidding, living in hell for a while, who would want to be in such a ghost place? Tenten looked at those terrifying monsters, if they watched for a long time, maybe it would affect their appetite. However, when he came to hell, Yizan thought of a person, the Snakeheim with whom he had a one-night love affair. Since the last time he dealt with Frieza, he had never seen her again. This time, he should find her. A chance to see her. After chatting with King Yama, Yizan found a reason to practice, left in a hurry from King Yama, and rushed directly to Snakeheim's mansion. Not long after Yizan left, in the 18th floor of hell, the ghost sword guarded everything. Those ghosts who were suppressed inside were all honest and did not dare to resist at all. At this time, in the 130 of the vampire sword, Shalu, who had just been sucked in by Yizan, showed a gloomy face, flashed inside the vampire sword, and then said hideously, Yizan, I am Shalu. It's not so easy to disappear, you wait for my wildest revenge. After finishing speaking, Sharu's figure disappeared again, and did not appear on the vampire sword again. In the 18 layers of hell, calm was restored again. Yizan didn't go through the passage leading to Zhuangxing, but made a direct teleportation and came to the outside of Snakeheim's mansion. Looking at the primitive buildings of blue bricks and blue tiles, Yizan's expression couldn't help but be moved. Just as he approached the gate of the mansion, there was a loud shout from inside, "Stop for me, don't go any further." Although the voice was not from Snakeheim, Yizan also stopped and did not force his way in, but cupped his hands outside the door and said, "I'm here to find you, Snakeheim, open the door quickly." Lord Snakeheim said that during this period of time, she is going to retreat and practice. She doesn't see anyone else. You should go back to where you are, or you will be welcome. The voice of the maid in there seemed very cold. There was no concession. You're welcome to me. Yizan's mouth slightly evoked a proud smile, and a powerful breath burst out from Yizan's body. If he really wanted to enter this mansion, Yizan could easily enter whether he alerted these people or not. However, Yizan still prefers to wait here, just out of love for the Snakeheim. However, after being rejected several times here, Yizan was also a little unhappy. Okay, since you won't come out, then I'll break in. Yizan's eyes turned cold, and a powerful aura burst out from him. Without the slightest hesitation, Yizan walked directly into the mansion of Snakeheim, opened the door, and strode inside. Squeak! At the moment when the door was opened, two young maids, each with a long sword in their hands, stabbed Yizan's body quickly, and they also carried a powerful murderous aura. This time, Yizan was also a little silly. Two cold lights flashed. Yizan's eyes narrowed slightly, and he quickly shot, grabbed forward, and grabbed the two long swords in his hands, making the opponent unable to move even if he wanted to move. The two young maids were controlled by Yizan. Even if they wanted to move, it was very difficult. One of them lifted his foot and kicked Yizan again. However, Yizan didn't pay attention to such an attack at all. Before the other party could attack him, he suddenly exerted force and broke the two long swords, and then burst out with a powerful breath. The two maids were forced to fly away. Bang dang! The two maids couldn't even bear the powerful aura on Yizan's body. After being knocked into the air, they fell to the ground, and even the long sword in their hands fell to the ground. Woo! Woo! After the two maids landed on the ground, more than a dozen maids rushed forward from the mansion, each holding a long sword in their hands, and the target was Yizan. Drink! However, before these maids touched Yizan's side, they were all rushed backwards by the powerful breath released by Yizan. With almost no action, Yizan relied on his powerful momentum to suppress, so that none of these maids could resist Yizan, and they were all rushed out. Just as he was about to lift his legs to walk into the mansion, a familiar voice came from not far away. Yizan, your strength is very strong now, but if you force me to show up, I will be happy. Yizan knew it was the voice of the snake Haim as soon as he heard it. He looked to the side and saw that at the back of a room, through the curtain, the figure of the snake Haim was imprinted on the curtain, although he could not see the real one. Human, but that figure still showed her perfect figure and her beautiful voice, letting Yizan know that it was indeed Snake Haim. After seeing Snake Haim, Yizan felt a little relieved. Yizan couldn't help sighing. The Snake Haim's anger made Yizan feel helpless. Shouting to the Snake Haim behind the window, "Then what do you want to see me?" The figure behind the window was silent for a while before answering, "When I figure it out, I'll see you naturally." Knowing that this time it was unsuccessful again, Yizan sighed slightly and walked outside the mansion. Fortunately, it was at the end of hell. Otherwise, if others knew, where would he put his face? He had boasted about Heiko in front of Boomer, and he was a handsome guy who everyone loved, but he never thought that he had been rejected twice now. After apologizing to the maids who were blown away by him, Yizan left Snake Haim's mansion, went to the open space outside, and took a deep look into the distance. "Yizan, have you come to hell?" Suddenly, a familiar voice sounded in Yizan's mind. Chapter 117-King of the North. Yizan, who had been unhappy for a long time, replied directly, "Tell me, what do you have to do with me?" Yizan could hear the other party's unique voice. Even if it turned to ashes, who else could it be except the real king with a wretched smile? "You are coming to Zhuangxing now. I just have something to do with you." Zhuang's voice reappeared in Yizan's mind. At this time, Yizan was not in a good mood, and wanted to find a place to vent. Since the Realm King had something to do with him, he nodded and replied, "Okay, I'll come right away." After speaking, Yizan immediately used teleportation and rushed towards Zhuangxing. It was just a moment. When Yizan appeared again, he had already arrived at the land of Zhuangxing and appeared directly in front of Zhuang. The Realm King, who was lying on the bench, drinking a drink while enjoying himself, suddenly saw Yizan appearing in front of him. "It scared me to death. Don't even say a word when you come." The king straightened the pointed hat on his head, and patted his chest with a look of fear. Yizan didn't bother to pay attention to the real king who pretended to be afraid. He turned around and walked behind, saying indifferently, "If there is nothing else, then I will go back first." Seeing that Yizan was about to leave again, the Realm King hurriedly came to Yizan again, stopped him, and said a little unhappily, "You young people, it's really no fun, you don't even understand humor." After pouting his lips, the real king said, "Forget it, since you are so impatient, I will tell you the truth. I came to you this time, but I have good news to tell you." Hearing the king's words, Yizan's face still couldn't help but be a little puzzled. It was not the first day that he knew this guy. He said good things, but usually he didn't know what it was. But after all, Yizan couldn't help but ask, what is the good news? Hee hee. With a slight smile, the king seemed very happy, covered his mouth and began to snicker, before saying, you were in the Silver River system, defeating Frieza, defeating Sharu, the king of the Northern Realm already knows. This time I want to send you to participate in the exchange battle between the kings of the major realms. I think it is very exciting to think about it. Quote. After hearing the news, Yi Zhan didn't feel very excited. The real-world kings sent strong men to challenge. Even if they won, it would be to gain face for the real-world kings. Wukong in the original book seems to have also participated in such a battle. From Yi Zhan's point of view, it doesn't make much sense. It's just similar to the world's #1 martial arts club in the universe. If you have time to spare, it's better to accompany Buma and he. Kiki. With a wave of his hand, Yi Zhan said to the Realm King, I'm not interested in this kind of battle, you should find someone else. With that said, Yi Zhan walked into the distance, as if preparing to leave this Zhuangxing. Don't go, Yi Zhan, god of the Northern Realm, and inform me, if you don't go, I will definitely be laughed at by other Realm Kings. The Realm King hurried over and pulled Yi Zhan's sleeve tightly. Do not let him leave. Unexpectedly, Yi Zhan was speechless for a while when the dignified Realm King was still acting like a rogue. It seemed that this guy was still showing his face among his peers. Sighing slightly, Yi Zhan glanced at the Realm King and said helplessly, then what do you need me to do? Seeing that Yi Zhan agreed, the real king's face couldn't help but feel a little surprised, and quickly said, it's very simple, you just need to go to the Northern Realm god with me. He will arrange us. Listen, it's just a battle, it's not a big deal. If you win, the benefits will naturally be indispensable. Having been in contact with Yi Zhan for so long, the Realm King naturally understands some of Yi Zhan's character, knowing that he is a master who doesn't care about the benefits, so naturally he has to add a bit of bargaining. Sure enough, these words caught Yi Zhan's attention, and he couldn't help but look back at the king and said, seriously, there is something good for me. Well, if you win, you will naturally know. The Realm King laughed and took this sentence over. Now that he agreed to the Realm King, Yi Zhan didn't bother to talk to the Realm King. The two stood together, teleported directly, and came to another beautiful planet. Although this planet is not very big, the flowers and plants on it are very beautiful and have very fresh air. When Yi Zhan came here, he couldn't help but take a deep breath. Moreover, the gravity of this planet is much stronger than that of Zhuang. If Yi Zhan is not strong now, I am afraid that it would be very difficult to stand firm here. These flowers are really good. I'll pick a few and bring them back to Bulma later. Seeing a very delicate flower, Yi Zhan couldn't help but leaned over and smelled it. Seeing Yi Xuandong looking around, the Realm King hurriedly reminded, Master Beiji Wangshan doesn't like others messing with his things here. It would be bad if he found out. Really? Yi Zhan glanced at the Realm King, and found that he was quite nervous, and seemed to be a little afraid of this Northern Realm King. Cough cough. At this time, there was a slight coughing sound from not far away, but it sounded more like it was attracting Yi Zhan's attention. Of course, Yi Zhan and the others were quickly attracted to them. Looking to the right, they saw a tall man in a long robe, accompanied by several guards, walking towards them. This man is also very imposing. When he walks, he seems to be able to carry a gust of wind under his feet, and his eyes are also very sharp, as if he can see through everything in the world. When the Realm King saw the man coming, he quickly walked over with Yi Zhan and said respectfully, Master Beiji Wangshan, he is Yi Zhan, he. Glancing at Yi Zhan, the king of the Northern Realm nodded lightly and said, the strength is not bad. There are not many people in this universe who can defeat Frieza. It's a prize. Yi Zhan also nodded lightly. The attitude of the Northern Realm King God to him was always a bit arrogant, which made Yi Zhan feel a little unhappy. Chapter 118 Don't pay attention. Yi Zhan's attitude also made the King God of the Northern Realm a little dissatisfied. He has always been aloof, and when others see him, they are all respectful. The corner of his mouth twitched slightly, and the King of the Northern Realm said with some yin and yang, this game is very important to our northern universe. If you lose, you will not be the only one who will lose face. Are you sure? I'm not sure. Why don't you find someone else? Yizan put his hands behind his neck and said indifferently. His eyes kept looking around, as if he didn't pay much attention to the words of the Northern Realm God. In Yizan's view, this is a world where strength is respected. As long as you are strong enough, others will naturally respect you. If you don't have any strength, it is best not to pretend to be a big head in front of him. What did you say? The king god of the Northern Realm finally couldn't bear it anymore. His face was a little cold. He stared at Yizan and gave a low drink. His eyes became a little cold. Shaking his head slightly, Yizan walked to the side and said, "Since you are the king of the Northern Realm, isn't it easy to find a few people to participate in the competition? Why do you want me to go?" Seeing that the two of them were not dealing with each other, the Earth Realm King immediately said beside him, "Lord Northern Realm King God, Yizan is still very young, and his words are a little impulsive. Don't be angry, and don't have the same knowledge as him." Humph. For the words of the Earth Realm King, the Northern Realm King God didn't take it seriously. He snorted coldly, and looked away as if he didn't hear it. Unable to say anything about the Northern Realm King God, the Earth Realm King hurriedly ran to Yizan's side again and said to him, "Didn't you promise to take part in this competition before? Why did you suddenly change your mind now?" Yizan smiled indifferently and said, "I participated in this competition entirely because of your face, Zhuang. Now some people think that my strength is low, so I don't have time to waste time here." Hearing this, the Earth Realm King was also very embarrassed. Cold sweat broke out on his forehead wearing glasses. It was the first time he felt such a depressing situation, and it was difficult to solve it. Seeing that Yizan wanted to leave here, the king of the Northern Realm immediately became unhappy and shouted, "Stop, this is not a place where you can come and leave when you want." "Then what do you think?" Yizan's voice also became a little low, and a cold murderous aura slowly emerged from his body. "Catch him up for me." The Northern Realm King God waved to the guards behind him, and a lofty aura suddenly radiated. The guards received the order, rushed out with a hula, and quickly came to Yizan's side. The four stood at 4 angles and surrounded Yizan. The corners of his eyes were pulled slightly, and he glanced at the few people surrounding him. Yizan said indifferently, "Just the few of you, do you want to stop me?" "Yizan, don't do it." The Earth Realm King quickly wiped his cold sweat and shouted from the side. He really regretted it. He shouldn't have brought Yizan here, otherwise, this would not have happened. Even if Yizan listened to the words of the Earth Realm King, the guards were all subordinates of the Northern Realm King God. They all picked up spear weapons and were ready to attack at any time. Drink. The 4 guards moved at the same time. Their figures were like several rays of light. They crossed beside Yizan, leaving a few shallow rays of light, but the figures had become illusory. Such a speed, in this universe, is already considered very fast, and ordinary powerhouses cannot stop it at all. Not only that, the spears in the hands of the 4 swept out several sharp edges, whistling and rushed towards Yizan. The 4 attacks were intertwined, like a cage, blocking Yizan's surroundings, making him unavoidable. Avoid. With this level of attack, if the opponent is a powerhouse of the same level, he may not be able to avoid this move, but for Yizan, it is not so scary. Domineering. Yizan's body, the powerful aura suddenly rose, condensed on the right fist. A faint light flashed. The entire right arm became pitch black as iron. The powerful aura, in his right arm wound in a circle. The martial arts in Dragon Ball world are too monotonous. Apart from relying on powerful chi to attack opponents, there are very few moves that can be called martial arts. Therefore, Yizan was too lazy to use his anger, and directly use the domineering arrogance he realized in One Piece's world. Hey! From the moment the attack was successfully condensed, Yizan attacked quickly. His body flashed a few times, and facing the attacks, he quickly slammed his fist down. With 4 attacks, Yizan quickly threw out 4 punches, as if his body had scattered 4 clones at the same time, with the same strength and speed. Bang! Bang! There were 4 muffled sounds in a row, and the attacks of the guards were directly defeated by Yizan. The powerful impact force sent them all backwards by 1.6, and everyone was blown away from their mouths. He spat out a few mouthfuls of blood, and his body hit the ground. Bang dang. The 4 guards carefully selected by the king of the Northern Realm did not even resist Yizan's blow, so they were defeated by Yizan. Gollum. Not far away, the king god of the Northern Realm, who saw this scene, changed his face in an instant, and he couldn't help swallowing. He finally realized how powerful this man from Earth was in front of him. Yizan jumped, his figure flashed quickly, and he came to the front of the Northern Realm king god, and said indifferently, "Do you still want to stop me from leaving now?" Chapter 119 _ Kings Gather. Want to stop him from leaving? Of course not. If he had known that Yizan was so strong, the king of the Northern Realm would not dare to do this to Yizan. In his opinion, the Earth is a relatively weak planet, and there has never been any real powerhouse in that place, and the Earth Realm King is also a relatively undisciplined guy. He doesn't have much to do. The 2 of them together can make a big move. Besides, he also found some powerful guys, ready to send to participate in this competition. After all, one more preparation is also good. But the powerful strength shown by Yizan just now deeply shocked the king of the Northern Realm, and now even if he wants to let Yizan go, he is a little reluctant. When his face changed, the king of the Northern Realm immediately showed a smile and said to Yizan, "When did I say that I would stop you from leaving? I just wanted to test you, but I really didn't expect you to be so powerful. Haha, you must go to participate in this competition." Quote. Saying that, the king of the Northern Realm leaned towards Yizan's side, showing an admiring look, and deliberately wanted to get closer to Yizan. Although it was a little uncomfortable to see this guy, Yizan also wanted to see what other powerful people in the universe had. "Okay, I promise you, I will participate in this competition, but I'm just looking at the face of the Earth King." Yizan nodded lightly and agreed. "Hey, no problem, I know." The Northern Realm King smiled and pulled Yizan and the Earth Realm King to live here first. The time for the competition is very close. Yizan did not refuse this request, and lived here with the Earth King. By the way, let's see if he can practice some new martial arts on this planet. Compared with the planet of the King of the Earth, the gravitational force of this planet is much higher. If he didn't use the strength in his body to resist, Yizan was a little worried, and he couldn't even stand firm. The night before the game, Yizan stayed in a secret room here, surrounded by copper walls and iron walls. It was a cultivation place specially created by the King of the Northern Realm. The defense of the secret room was amazing. Can't break the door. Yizan took off his clothes, revealing his sturdy upper body, and a faint light roamed his skin, as if his body and the surrounding light had merged into one, and the strength was in his body. Inside, it can explode at any time. Cuckoo. A strange sound came from inside Yizan's body. From Yizan's feet to the upper body, there was power surging forward. In the end, these powerful forces converged on Yizan's fist, turning the entire right arm into a black glow, with a layer of Yuhi-colored aura on it, circled around it, and finally disappeared and merged into the arm. Super strong, Jawong fist. Yizan shouted suddenly. His right fist compressed the breath, and the powerful chi in the body was compressed into the arm, causing the flesh on the arm to shrink suddenly. Not only that, domineering and chakra are also covered on it. The 3 powerful forces are fused together, and Yizan's right fist becomes extraordinarily powerful. Yeah, Yizan let out a low voice, launched an attack, smashed his right fist fiercely, and a gust of wind surged out of the secret room, bursting out instantly with endless power and shock waves. With an incomparably violent sound, the secret room, which was closed in all directions, suddenly burst open, and a huge boxing shadow erupted, smashing the secret room into pieces. After a long time, the surroundings returned to calm again. Yizan also took a deep breath and let it out slowly. He was quite satisfied with the punch he just cast. He has also fought Sharu before, and knows the strength of the opponent. Although he defeated Sharu, there are more strong people in this universe. To defeat them, Yizan must strengthen his own strength. At this time, in a pavilion not far away, the king of the Northern Realm and the king of the Earth Realm were looking over here. The powerful attack that Yizan had just burst out shocked them both. The king of the Northern Realm couldn't help but smacked his mouth a few times and said, "This Yizan's strength is indeed strong enough. The hardness of this training room is no less than that of a planet. I didn't expect that he couldn't even take a punch from him. Hee, Yizan is the most powerful warrior in the history of the earth. Don't worry, Lord God of the Northern Realm, he will definitely win glory for you." The Earth Realm King patted his ass next to him very timely. A day passed quickly, until the next morning, the Northern Realm King and the Earth Realm King were in a square on this planet, neatly dressed, as if they were waiting for someone. Zan also felt a little strange beside him. Whoosh, whoosh. Soon, from the sky in the distance, several figures flew over, all of which landed in front of the King of the Northern Realm. Everyone's face is full of respect. The King God of the Northern Realm has always wanted face very much. The last time he was attacked by Yi Xuanqi almost vomited blood, but now he has finally found some ground on these people. Yizan didn't know why so many people came here at first, but later he found out that these guys who came from far away were all the realm kings in various galaxies in the Northern Universe, and they also brought their own planes. The most powerful person, specially came to participate in this game. This is why Yizan and the others came early, so they were personally entertained by the King of the Northern Realm. If they came late, they would be standing outside chatteringly like these guys. At a glance, there are at least hundreds of realm kings here, plus the powerhouses they brought. There are almost 1,000 people, and there are all kinds of races and shapes. The people who see it are a little dazzled. There are so many realm kings in just one northern universe. If you add several other plane universes, you don't know how many realm kings there are. Yo-yo, isn't this the Earth King? It's been a long time, you haven't come to the exchange conference for many years. Suddenly, a tall, thin, purple-skinned man, dressed in the king's clothes, walked towards this side with his hands behind his back. Come over. And behind this man, there is a big man with a height of nearly 3 meters. His muscles are very thick. Just his arms look like a Jinchuriki column. If he doesn't take a step forward, he will step on the ground. Deep concave. Seeing the man walking over, the Earth Realm King's face became a little ugly, but then he said lukewarmly, "Haley Star Realm King, you are here too." Chapter 120-provocative. Of course, I come every year. The tall and thin man known as the King of the Harley Stars laughed loudly. It's you. You haven't been here for so many years, and suddenly appeared today. Did you bring an expert here? Ah, let's all get acquainted. Saying that, the Harley Star Realm King looked to the side and found Yizan behind the Earth Realm King. He couldn't help but take a few steps forward, stared at Yizan a few times, and suddenly said, "This is what you found. Contestants, they seem to be mediocre and nothing great. Will they not even be able to make it through the first game?" Yizan's eyes narrowed slightly, staring at the Harley Star Realm King for a few times, and he knew in his heart that this must be finding fault. I didn't expect the Earth Realm King. There is a guy who hates him, or he came here specially mocking him. The people around saw the Harley Star Realm King pointing, but no one came out to say anything, just stood by and watched the excitement. After all, everyone knows behind the scenes that the Harley Star Realm King is powerful and has many masters, and he is the successor of the next Northern Realm King God. Moreover, regarding the words and deeds of the Harley Star Realm King God, the Northern Realm King God did not come out to stop it, and in everyone's hearts, this rumor was even more recognized. What they don't know is that the reason why the King of the North Realm did not come out to stop it is because he hopes that the King of the Harley Star Realm can teach Yizan a lesson. Although he treats Yizan very well on the surface, there are still some things in his heart. Angry. Yizan, let's go, get ready to leave later. The Earth Realm King ignored the Harley Star Realm King, but turned around and said this to Yizan. Yeah. Yizan nodded and prepared to go to the other side with the Earth Realm King. After all, so many people were present, and he didn't want to miss the two guys in front of him, However, the more Yizan and the Earth Realm King are like this, the more reluctant the Harley Star Realm King is. With a smug smile on his face, he took a few steps forward and stopped in front of Yizan and the others. Don't go, let's have a good chat. After all, we are old friends, haha, just let my people try your guys' strength. Harley Star Realm King finally revealed his purpose, crowd all opened their mouths. If you want to challenge, you should wait until you are in the arena. The Earth Realm King patted the Harley Star Realm King's hand directly and bounced off his arm that was blocking him. Boom! Who knows, the man behind Harley's Star Realm King jumped forward and came to Yizan, blocking his way, looking at him condescendingly with a huge body. There is a big gap between the two people just by comparing their bodies. Compared with the behemoth in front of him, Yizan is far worse. The Harley Star Realm King knocked on the cane and said authoritatively, "Toke, just play it twice, don't kill people, you know." "Okay, Lord Realm King." The big man named Toke nodded in understanding, with a smug smile on his face. Harley Star Realm King is also a very observant guy. From the moment he came here, he noticed that the Northern Realm King was very kind to Yizan on the surface, but there was always some murderous aura in his eyes. These high-level guys all need to be flattered. If Yizan can't do this, then others will naturally come out and teach him a lesson. Yizan was not a fool either. He glanced at the king of the Northern Realm in the distance and found that he was indifferent. He just watched all this silently, and immediately understood everything in his heart. This must have been his acquiescence. Turning his eyes upwards, Yizan said lightly, "Big man, are you trying to kill me by standing in front of me?" Yizan's words were not loud, but they made everyone around them hear it clearly, which surprised all the Realm Kings. You must know that the Harley Star Realm King is a powerful representative, and the Earth Realm King has not participated in the exchange conference for many years. In such a situation, compared with each other, even a fool can guess that the strength of the two sides is vastly different, and the Harley Star Realm King can easily defeat the Earth Realm King. However, what surprised all the Realm Kings was that Yizan, who was brought by the Earth Realm King, dared to provoke the first warrior of the Harley Star Realm King in public. This courage is still worthy of admiration. "What did you call me? Say it again." The tall Toke poked out his ears playfully, and made a contemptuous expression at Yizan with his condescending eyes. "It's the same if I say it 100 times. Yizan didn't even look at Toke, but said lightly, "He, stinky boy, you are really brave. It seems that I won't teach you a good lesson. I don't know how high the sky is and how thick the ground is." Toke's mouth cracked open, revealing a row of sharp Kiba's teeth. A little bit of light hit the dog Kiba, and it looked a little cold and terrifying. After speaking, Toke raised his right fist, a hayate, and sucked back on his fist, forming a whistling force, and also produced a surging wind. Earth Split Fist. One punch absorbed all the power. Toke didn't hesitate at all, and with a ruthless punch, he smashed it down like this, and slammed it towards the top of Yizan's head. Others present have also seen the power of Toke. His punch once blew up a D-level planet. Such a powerful force is not something that everyone can possess. You must know that in this universe, among the real powerhouses, the size of the power can no longer be judged by combat power. Many powerhouses can blow up the planet with one punch. Such power is the combat power. The detector also exploded in an instant. Seeing Tuoki's punch, he was about to slam Yizan's body hard. The people around couldn't help but sweat for him. Whoever told him to dodge didn't even dodge it. Many people were in their hearts. Guess whether Yizan was so frightened by the power of Toke that he could no longer move. "Yizan, dodge quickly, this punch is too powerful." The Earth Realm King's face changed greatly, and he hurriedly shouted from behind.